Here. Oh, wow. This is a fantastically exciting day. Hello to Beck. Hello to Queen Kate. Oh, Kate, you're looking gorgeous. Oh, my goodness. Oh, Beck, look how gorgeous Kate's looking. Oh, hello. It's all like a flipped haircut, Kate. Oh, and Donna's in. Donna, your hair's looking, gee, a bit of hair envy's going on today. Is it? Look at everybody.
It's a wig.
It, it's you, Kate. It's you and your fabulousness. You're amazing. And needless to say, Doug, we can't see your hair, but that is an outstanding selection of hat type gear, mate.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I've heard it's quite cold in Adelaide, mate. How's it going?
It's lovely, actually. I love this sort of weather. I'd die if I went to Darwin.
Look, it's hot, but can I say you're having a great time and it's lovely in Adelaide. You look like you're wearing 27 rugs, Doug.
Yeah, no, nearly. Yeah, just an hoodie and a therby and a singlet and
But you're enjoying the weather. No, that's fantastic.
yeah.
I would you go. You're a legend. So Queen Donna's in, Andrew's in. Oh, we've got the fantastic mum and son combination in once more. And look, we will just check in with you both. And Paul, good evening. The hair's still looking amazing. Mary's in. Infocom's back. We love you. Lorraine's in. Beck and Andrew, can we ask, how's the piece going? We've all been excited to hear how it's going. Do you want to give us a bit of an update? Andrew went, yes.
Yeah. Do you want me to do it, Andy? Gotcha. I've been assessing skills exams for 2 weeks, so I was out of the picture because they were full on. They were like 12-hour days and things, but finished those. So we've come back into it. We've narrowed it down. We've got 11 potential articles, which is we're thinking quite good. Pardon me. At the moment, Andy's working on the summary table and the CASP analysis. So we've had a bit of a chat. We're going to use the Naffel and Whittemore thematic analysis and things. So given that this is completely new for Andy, I'm having a bit of fun showing him and teaching him and things like that. And we're talking about using the CASP analysis tool for credibility. So yeah, we've targeted it that way. I thought it might be easier to help him, introduce him to reading the articles and actually looking at those quality appraisal tools before we make a final decision and then start looking at results and things. So that's where we're at just at the moment.
Oh, so Andrew, no pressure on you at all, mate, by the sound of that. Oh, I'm getting a laugh. Yeah, it's fine. Do you want to say hi to everybody, Andrew? Oh, you can't. Oh, we're sort of getting a hello, everybody. You've still got the best beard in the universe. We can't hear you. You might have to turn yourself up. But Andrew, it's great to see you. And it's great to see your mum. And it's fantastic to hear the piece is going well. It's just brilliant. And we should say hello. Queen Jane's in. Obviously, we can now start because Jane's here. Adrian's in. And Adrian, we love you. It's fantastic. Hello, gorgeous. It's lovely to see Adrian. All our favourite people are in. Oh, Adrian, you look like an angel has arrived in your room. You've got this fantastic sort of shimmer around you. No, it's don't say that. It wasn't about a dirty screen. It was just like angels all around you, Adrian. Great to see you, mate. Queen Maeve's in the house. It's been an exciting week for Maeve. Do you want to say hi, Maeve?
Hi, Maeve.
Fantastic.
Having fun. No, I'm definitely in a good mood. I've been dancing to the playlist prior to coming on, so I'm not sure how it'll go.
It'll go fantastically well. No, as you know, Professor Jamie Quinton provided for Maeve a playlist for her thesis, so to help her get into the soundscape and so forth. And can I say, it is a tremendous list, and I do listen to it in the vehicle and do a lot of drive dancing with lots of hand movements. It's very fantastic. A bit of cold chisel for the Australians here, a bit of chisel work. So as you know, you just want to have like a slab of beer and just sing to chisel, right? So it is a great list, Maeve. So Maeve, don't know what Maeve's going to be doing in the next little bit. Fantastic. And Nawal's in. Hello, Nawal. I'll just wave at you in case you don't want a screen up, but we're all with you, darling. It's lovely to see your name, and I hope everything else is fantastic for you. Oh, Nawal might be.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
It's lovely to see you. I never want to put pressure on people because some people like sort of the Zoom anonymity, and I respect it. But you are magnificent. So good morning. Are you going well?
Good morning. Good morning, yeah. Going well, thank you. Nice Friday. It's a bit cold. I mean, I'm from New Zealand.
Kia ora.
Yeah, kia ora.
Oh, fantastic. Yes, I've heard it's very, very cold in New Zealand. My goodness me. But again, you need to be sort of wearing the sort of gear that Doug is wearing. And I think Doug is, as I said, layering is clearly the Doug way. So Doug, we're going to bear that in mind. Fantastic. So colleagues, we're doing incredibly well. I've got a few sort of structures of things to talk about from the commentary from Maeve and others and our Eunice. But can I just check, are there any sort of questions? And Maeve, you obviously monitor the chat a lot for me. I'll dive straight in. So let's start with things that are important to you. So Doug, what's happening, bro?
I just want to know when CDU is going to have a info session for potential students.
I believe the Dean of Graduate Studies at CDU will be doing that in the next 6 weeks, I believe. So yes, there will be an info session, mate. It'll be with me, and it'll be quite exciting. And we've got a lot of students that are coming. So yes, Doug, you will be the star of that session. Can I ask you, Doug, to get your feedback? What time should we choose? That's the only thing that's held me back for the last little bit. You know, because we've got students all over the world, and just trying to find from Darwin, Adelaide time, the right time. What do you suggest? Morning, afternoon? What suits you?
Well, afternoons suit me better because I'm not a morning person. So but I do my best. But I don't know. It depends on how far flung people are, because you don't want to be so cater for the Australian audience too much, and when you got international people trying to tune in, that you got to sort of cater a bit for that as well.
Well, that's right, Doug. We end up destroying Paul's life and Paul's family life and Donna's life and Donna's family life. You know, it's like this vampiric moment when these two come and say, "Goody."
Like Paul's got his curtains open to that. Oh, he's in a different room.
It's a great room, though. Can I say? How you going, Paul?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yes, I've swapped rooms today.
How famous are you on the internet, Paul? Can I just put that out there? How famous are you on the internet?
Mainly down to your followers. But
No.
Yeah, no, it's.
Oh, is that all? Yeah, you did fantastic work, and it was an amazing piece of writing. Amazing.
No, yeah, it's been a nice week, and I'm glad that some of my ramblings found interest in some people's hearts.
Well, as I said to you, I think in one of those responses to your inverted commas ramblings, which they weren't, think about First Monday, Paul, because that's a huge audience that would just love to read that work.
Yeah, I had a read up on them today, so yeah, I'm going to see what I can do.
Oh,
thank you for that link.
That's fantastic. And Queen Arena's in, and Carolyn's in, and Donna, we'll just get a hello from you before we launch into the Eunice Maeve zone. How are you, Donna?
I'm very well. I'm up in Donegal, so I'm right up in the very north of Ireland. We have a cottage just on the edge of the mouth of Lough Swilly, and the next stop's, I think, Canada. So that's where I am. So I was really worried that because I'm piggybacking off my phone because I don't have Wi-Fi here, but it's all good.
We are so lucky to have you in our lives, Donna. Unbelievable. And Lorraine's there. We love you, Lorraine. It's fantastic. But colleagues, what I thought, we'll check, obviously other questions you've got, please merge them on the way through. But today the conversation linking in with Queen Eunice, who's wearing red and looking stunning as always. But with Eunice, who of course has finished her PhD, hashtag just saying, we're now thinking about publishing options for Eunice, but also leading into Maeve, and this might be something we do for weeks upon weeks upon weeks, thinking about how to create income streams, right? So it's quite important that and Kyle's, if Kyle's comes in on the call, Kylie, of course, is quite interested in how you take a small project in the area of policy and try and find income streams, right? So Eunice, we're going to start sort of with you in publishing. So you've got a really big thesis, and an article about the experience of that PhD has already come out and has got some fantastic reads. I think it's already at 40,000 reads of that article. So it's absolutely remarkable. So that little chunk has come out of the thesis that actually wasn't a lot of the thesis, but was a little bit of the thesis. So Eunice, we've got the study in place, this big thesis. Now we have some choices, Eunice. One choice is we publish pretty well that entire thesis as a Springer public health singly authored scholarly monograph. And I think it would find a good audience there because their public health monographs work with disability studies very well. You will make some money with that, but they often, Springer has two models. They pay you a figure at the start, often €300, and they go, thanks for playing, we've bought the book, or they do royalties each year. And, you know, they're okay payers, but not magnificent, right? And that book would be available in hardback, sometimes softback, but definitely Kindle ebook. So Eunice, do you want to just start there with you? And Anna, because this is for all our colleagues doing PhDs, and Doug, this is your future, do you want the entirety of the study to be presented to the world? Where are you on this, Eunice, in terms of here's the thesis, and you know, I'd like this out in the next 6 weeks for you, really. Is that something that attracts you? Sound, sweetheart. We'll have to demute you, darling. Let's have a look. Gotcha.
Sorry. Yeah, we're running on generator power this morning because the electricity supply has been cut off. But because we lived on generator power for many years, we're very used to it, so it's no problem. It's just humming away in the background. Honestly, I haven't given it any thought. I don't know what to do. I mean, without your guidance, I would never have taken it any further.
Well, Eunice, let's start with another question that we started last week. Who do you want to read it? Who is the audience for this research? And then we'll make the platform fit the audience. Who do you want to read it, darling?
Well, anyone that's involved with these children. You know, I'm hoping over time things will change. I've already been contacted by one of the paediatric surgeons down in Adelaide, who is actually affiliated with Flinders. So he's very keen to establish a better support base there for these children, which doesn't exist at the moment. So, you know, I think over time things might change. I don't know how. Like, for example, my original supervisor, who was paediatric surgeon and is the same age as me, so it's not that he's
young and gorgeous.
Well, I don't consider him old and crusty, you know, one of those generation of surgeons who just humbug sort of thing. Yeah. But yet he was not the slightest bit interested in anything that the thesis is now.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know how well it would go down with surgeons. There have been a few over the many, many years that this has taken that have come up to me and said, we've never heard this before. No one tells us what goes on when you go home. So I don't know whether they would be an audience.
Colleagues, I think that Eunice has just found something here. So let's do this in real time as a family and work out what publication looks like for Eunice. So I think we may do the scholarly monograph, Eunice, but let's park that for a moment. Let's focus now firstly on you with a short book. So short books are a very interesting income stream. And Kylie, we're going to go straight to you in a second about particularly for policy work. Okay, so thank you for being here, Kyles, because I've been thinking about you all week. So Eunice, there are certain publishers, of which Springer is an example. I mean, most publishers do this now. Springer started it. Emerald is also very strong. And Taylor and Francis Routledge also has one of these, but just about every publisher has them, of shorter books, getting it to about 20,000 words and under 32,000 words. Now, Eunice, some of the publishers, of which Springer and Emerald are an example, will come up with a better price point for you. So it's a much more manageable book for the audience you're talking about, that they may purchase it. I think the big monograph is for the surgeons and the public health colleagues. I think if you're interested in targeting the families, the parents, the siblings, the community organisations to enable support for these precious citizens and humans, then a short book emerges quickly and provides a pretty rapid intervention. So is that something that would be useful, Eunice? And then we'll go straight to Kate.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, without your thoughts on this, it would never have entered my head.
And these short books are great because they're cannibalized as individual chapters and appear on Google Scholar, but also they provide, and we might talk about this a bit today, an intellectual calling card. So very quickly, because these are published within 3 months, Eunice, once they get a manuscript, it goes to refereeing and in, out, shake it all about, right? So 3 months. And if we can come up with a great title, and I think a very clustered argument about the neglect of these citizens and how community organisations and parents and friends and peers and citizens can make a difference, that is a crucial short book.
Okay.
We'll come back to that in a second, but Kate, straight to you, darling.
I'm speaking as a UK trained nurse. I trained in general and paediatrics.
Yes.
I did paediatrics at Western Bank Children's Hospital in Sheffield, which was huge. And I saw many children with imperforate anus and esophageal fistulas, all sorts of things that we never were taught anything in the classroom. So as student nurses, we were just faced with these children in bed. This is in the 1960s. Yes. And we were trained by pediatric surgeons and physicians. There was no university. There were no nurse educators in those days. Everything we learned was from the surgeons and the physicians. So I would really like to see, and I know Eunice's work quite well, and I know Adam, and I know the family. I think for me as a nurse, if I had had all that information as a student nurse, I would have done things clinically at the bedside in much better. And I think maybe now is the time to have topics like this introduced into nursing curricula at university, because they won't know. Nurses will not know.
Brilliant. And Kate, that's helping me enormously, because I think with Eunice, and who knew we'd go there, but I think Eunice, we have a 3-prong dissemination for you, and all will bring in some income, but it'll be a little bit, it won't be a lot, because I'll get to the next stage when we're talking about Kylie. But I think we go for the short book quickly. So what I need you to do for me as a colleague is come up with a really great title and about 3 interesting snippets or segments of the thesis that explain the problem. What is the problem? What's changed? And what needs to change? And that's an interventionist, activist book. That works as a short book. Then we'll get the credible Springer Public Health monograph, the big fella, because again, you've got a big thesis, right? And we put that out so that is in libraries and it is used and deployed. But I think the other crucial one, and this links in beautifully with Kate's point about how we create a short, sharp, quick intervention, is there's this fascinating new area of publishing, and it's not new. The weird thing is it's centuries old, but it sort of has this new life now through digitization, and they're called chap books. Most of us on the sort of English colonization side of it know them as pamphlets, right? So these are sort of 15 to 30 pages. And now, of course, through digitization and all new chap book publishers, there's this big new audience and world, right? And this is just fantastic to me. So Eunice, the other task we'll do, I think, the third task for you is we focus on the chap book that may be particularly geared for nurses, and particularly geared for specific groups that you think are important. It may be parents that are just confronting all these issues and not getting the information, right? So those chap books that are often pamphlets, that are often digitized, provide a very nice little income stream for you, 15 to 30 pages. So we'll do that. We'll do the short book that is the intervention in the wider public debates, and we'll go for the Springer Public Health main scholarly monograph. What do you think, Eunice? Oh, we haven't got sound, but I think I got a wow there, which is a good sign.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, amazing. Absolutely amazing. I just, I wonder how many theses there are that are parked somewhere and no one like yourself is able to see the potential. I mean, to me, it was just about, it's over, it's finished.
Yeah, so unfortunately, as I said to you last week, I have electronically tagged you and you'll never get rid of me, Eunice. So
I never want to.
no, you'll never get rid of me. So
I
Eunice,
thought you'd be glad to see the back of us.
oh no, well your back is just as beautiful as the front, can I say? But no, that's not. So Eunice, you've got some homework for us all this week before we hit into Kylie zone. So Eunice, I need 3 titles from you, and I'll, outside of this meeting, send you examples of tables of contents and book proposals, what they look like. In fact, we can do one of these on book proposals in a couple of weeks if anyone feels like that. But we can do, I'll send you some examples of book proposals for the long, for the short, and you and I will come up with a pamphlet model, because I'm going into this pamphlet zone myself for the first time. I'm terribly excited about this. And Paul, for your articles that are not quite a short book, so that interesting in between zone, these new chapbook publishers are really interesting. A couple I've been watching this week, Bad Betty publishers. Hello, I mean, that's just worth writing for them, just to have that on your CV, I think. Like, I publish Bad Betty. Come on. And I think another one is Rinky Dink too. I mean, how great is this? So these are great. And of course, you know, Paul, in the sort of 17th, 18th century, as literacy started to proliferate through the United Kingdom, pamphlets and pamphleteers became quite a big deal. Someone who could read would read it to their friends, their organisation, their family, to create political change. So I love the idea that the chapbooks, the pamphlets are coming back digitally in this weird, wonderful little way. I mean, it's great, isn't it, Paul?
Yeah, it's quite an exciting media, isn't it? And certainly, yeah, it's to get my head around, because a lot of what I have isn't monograph size, but is worthy of better dissemination, I think. So I will definitely look into those funky titles.
I know, mate. And it's about cutting things up in odd and interesting ways. And for, again, who is the audience? You've got your content, but let's start with the audience, right? So that's just, I mean, I've just been thinking about Eunice all week, because I always think about Eunice. But Eunice, let's focus on those 3 strategies. And a very handsome physicist has joined us, who's about to be live on Al Jazeera in about 45 minutes. So hashtag no pressure there, Professor Quinton. What, you've said no, or you are going on Al Jazeera?
7 o'clock tonight.
7 o'clock tonight?
Mm.
Oh, so it's going to be from Palmerston North. Let's talk about Wi-Fi. Oh, good luck with that, Dale. Oh,
Blistering Wi-Fi.
I'm very proud of you, Jamie. We just talked about publishing options for our Eunice, so that's great. We're moving to the Kylie zone. So firstly, Kylie, we need to say, how are you, darling? I've been worried about you this week. How are you going?
Good. Better this week than I was last week. We're putting a lot of management stuff around the event that happened, and which is really good. And we're using that opportunity to make changes, which is I'm very happy about. So
look, that's really good, Carl. So I mean, it's a nightmare when things happen and it, like you feel like just throwing your head down a toilet.
Yeah, but it's also the fact that I know we talk about the changes in academia around the academic side of stuff, but it's also that changing around the facilities management, and really big from that aspect, as you would probably be fully aware.
Oh, look, it's a nightmare. So you're an amazing human and you're doing well. But you gave me a project last weekend about thinking through, okay, you're doing research and your audience, you want to do policy interventions, right? Yeah. And you're going, oh, look, the audience might be small, and so how do I publish for that? Now, for you, without a doubt, it's the small book, okay? Particularly Springer, but Emerald are creating these very sexy, funky, really exciting books with some interesting covers, and both Springer and Emerald, you have to ask, but do ask, are prepared to negotiate on price point. So, Kyles, why that matters, and I didn't know how much this mattered in policy land until it happened to me. So as we talked about last week, I read that weird little book called Unique Urbanity when I was in regional Australia. And because I was interested in the specificity of these small cities, like the Bathurst, like the Dubbos, like the Darwins, these small cities with a university or without, and how we create economic development for what often are very monocultural, mono-economic edges, of which Palmerston North is another example, Jamie, of course. We're very narrow economic base. And so I published this book, and then all of a sudden, people started to read it in government. and in quasi non-government organisations in tourism, in the food industries and the wine industries. And yes, I made a bit of money out of that book, bit of money, did all right. But Kyle's, it's the capacity to then speak off that book that makes, I mean, more money than I can probably tell you, $2,000 a time at least. For public speaking gigs for regional tourism authorities, regional food organisations, etc. Right? So, Kyles, I would come up with a great title, because that almost becomes like a business card. These small walks become a business card. So in your thesis, if you've got a good slice that you can click out of it, what's going on, what's going well, what are the problems, what should we do, that sort of structure, you'll make a fortune. What do you want to say about that, Kyles?
Yeah, really good. My only question, and because I'm still in that process of doing the thesis, the fact that the book is peer reviewed as part of the publishing, does it roll into my thesis? Or does it go in as appendix? Can I utilize that, or is that just completely I do that when I get further down?
Look, it can be everything. It can be all of the above. The legendary Sue Charlton, who I see is on the call, the legendary Sue Charlton did something very clever. She obviously had a bit of a journey on her thesis as well. These are the people I've met in my life that have been on a journey, and then I will walk on the journey with them. But she had to do about 5 different literature reviews with about 5 different supervisors, all wanting different things. And she ended up putting those earlier literature reviews in as appendices. They were published, but as early literature reviews. So, Kyles, what you can do is write for the thesis and then translate it. So cut it down for the smaller book market, list it as during, your second page of the thesis should be, during this PhD, the following things, objects have been produced. And it might be podcasts, it might be books, it might be articles. Now, it's important that you do that at the start, and also, Kylie, that you do self-cite. Because every now and again, you'll get an examiner who's on crystal meth and deciding that they are going to call that self-plagiarism, right? And they go, but you've published some of this before I've read it. Therefore, it must be self-plagiarism, even though it's yours. So just make sure, these are weird. And it has happened, can I say?
I've actually just done that because I've got my second paper ready and I've just run it through Turnitin just for double checking. And I'm like, oh, there's my paper that I've referred to myself.
That's great. That's absolutely great. And so all you've got to do, the only way you handle self-citation, self-plagiarism is to self-cite. So self-citation becomes the prophylactic for self-plagiarism, right? So all you just got to do is they go, this has been published, and you go, yes, it has. Yes, it has. And here's the citation.
If you'd like to go read it, here it is.
So, and of course, where this is significant for you, Kyles, for your particular thesis, is it won't be a clean overlap. Probably the short will be, here is the original content, and you're translating it a bit. So you're rewriting it for a different audience. So it's the same, but it's not the same, right? And that's where it gets really interesting. So make sure the self-citation's there. But Kyles, that's how you make the money. You will make more money. And people go, oh, look, regional governments, like local governments, local authorities, you won't make much money there. Wrong, because they have a professional development budget line. Kate, you know this, hospitals have a professional development budget line that they have to spend. So is that helping, Kyles?
Perfect. Yep, that's really good. Thank you for all your work.
Oh, no, so we'll come up with a good title, but don't underestimate that. Oh, so Beck's in. So Maeve is in charge of everything. Beck, do you want to say hi? Beck, do you want to say hi, and then Maeve can help me? Beck, hi, Beck. Talk to me, Beck.
Are you talking to me? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Sorry about that. Oh, no, I just posted a comment in the chat. I'm fortunate. I actually have an academic position at Western Sydney. So as a unit coordinator, I can actually set up Turnitin links for assessments. And there's an option in the Turnitin link for non-repository. And so I've used that with Andy actually a few times, because where he studies, they're only allowed to drop it into Turnitin once. So what that means is it checks everything else, but it doesn't actually store your work in the database there.
That's lovely. To also with Turnitin, if you just click draft, It doesn't get in the database as well. So there's all these sorts of tricks as well. But you're absolutely right, Beck. I think Authenticate also is quite nice in managing multiple puts in. I think all of us should use it a lot because it has a diagnostic role. For me, it's not the you plagiarizer. It's not the penalty. It's learning. It's learning. Maeve, talk to me, Maeve. So good on you, Beck. So that's a great suggestion, and do that. So Maeve, darling.
Yes, I'm very excited by everything, and I put up in the chat, I would love some help with how do you write a great title, exclamation mark. Yeah. And as you'll notice by all the gallery view heads nodding there, that we all went wild. Everybody would like some help some other time on creating these brilliant titles.
Well, look, I've called them, and I wish I could say I'd had about 5 Chardonnays first, but I didn't. I'm like this without alcohol. I think I called them lipstick titles. And because they're sort of all showy and out the front and a bit colourful and a bit in people's face. And look, I cannot underestimate the importance of significant titles. And obviously, even with, Jamie's work, Jamie is producing some very significant books about particular matters in science. And, it can be quite dry in the sciences, but for the particular monographs in the sciences, A Brief History of Time is a great example of that. You need the sexy title. So again, always start with who is the audience, and come up with what I call a real lipstick main title. So something like, I'll just give you examples I've used. So University of Google, right? That was mine. I developed that. Digital dieting, tracking the jack, unique urbanity, digital wine. Okay, so basically 2 or 3 words, boof, in people's face, about as subtle as a punch in the throat, right? So do that for me, big title. Work out, what would you buy? That's the other way to always start, Maeve. When you go through a bookshop, or more significantly these days, you're on Amazon. And think about what drawer should go, oh, that's interesting. And basically, you've got 10 seconds to pull somebody in. So that title is crucial. And then, Maeve, the secondary title is the descriptive one, okay? So you need a punch in the throat, boof, and then you need that lovely descriptive title so people know actually after the punch in the throat, what am I going to get out of this, right? And that's the way forward. So we'll go to Jamie and then we'll go again, Maeve. Go, Jamie, darling.
Oh, I just wanted to highlight in the chat, you have a question from Infocom. I don't know who that is, but I think they would like to ask a question or raise a topic for discussion, and they're not clear on how the meeting's meant to work. So I just wanted to draw your attention to that.
Oh, thank you, Jamie. Well, gorgeous Infocom. We've seen you before. Hello, superstar. This is basically, there's no sort of real policy or rule. It's people come with questions and we answer them. And if we've got big questions like Maeve has given us, or Eunice has given us, or Kylie's given us, we sort of work through the weeks. But Infocom, what would you like to ask us? And you can put it in the chat, or you can speak to us if you like.
Well, I'm still struggling with this kind of summer vacations and working on my thesis. I got 1 year to finish it, and I'm struggling. I'm literally struggling, like emotionally, and I can't do the work. I'm stressed, everything. I don't understand what's happened.
Oh, my darling.
To be honest.
Yes. Well, the first thing is we've got some very, very wise people on this call. And of course, Donna is a professional in this field. The first thing I would say is for the emotional matter, I would go to a professional. So the first thing is, supervisors and so forth, and all of us as a family can handle things. But if there is an emotional issue that you can't diagnose or locate, or you're stuck in, then I think it's very important to go and see somebody, whether it be involving talk therapy, whether it be involving seeing a general practitioner and getting referrals outward. Go and see your local nurse if you've got a nurse that you trust. And I would engage with a professional and then do referrals on that emotional work, just to make sure you're okay. And we'll go to Donna in a second. But in terms of, let's park that matter for the moment, just in terms of study skills and doing a PhD. The first thing you've got to realise is only 1% of the population of the world has one, and they are hard. And it may not be for everyone. And that's the crucial thing, that 50% of people that start don't finish. There is no shame in that. So the first thing is, if it is too much and you're wondering, should I be doing it? Like, is it just too much? Then going, you know what, I'm out. and I'm going to get on with the rest of my life, that's cool too. Trust me, that's cool. And if you have decided, you know, I want to finish this, then you're going to have to make decisions, and these are going to be hard decisions. You can't add, as I often say, you can't add a thesis to an already full bucket. You've got to take stuff out of your bucket. You've got to talk with your family. You've got to talk with your friends, and they have to support you, right? So, and you have to make a decision, Infocom. You've got to make a decision. You've got to say, I am going to spend 2 hours a day working on this thesis, no excuses. Because the thing is, obviously, talk to me, darling.
I make 6 hours a day, but I want 12. It's not enough 6 hours a day.
Yes,
I want
it is
12 hours a day, and then I can't make it to 12 hours a day. Well, for the emotional things, it's I'm afraid. That's all, because I'm afraid not to finish it, because this is something that I really want strongly hard.
Yes.
And I love the academic life. It is something that it's a dream for me, academic life, and working on the academic writing and doing research. It's heaven for me.
Yes,
to be honest.
Yes, I know, but we've got to connect up the desire and the ambition with the process through which you can achieve it. So no one needs to work 12 hours a day on a thesis, my love. It's what's going on during that time that worries me. What we require is focus and clarity. So can I make sure, let's just go through a checklist and we'll see how we go. Now, are you clear on your abstract? Is your abstract written and is it clear?
Yeah.
Great. Is your significant original contribution to knowledge clear?
Hell yes.
Was that a hell yes? Hell yes. That's fantastic. Now, is your chapter construction, your chapter organization clear?
Yeah.
Great. Have you got in each of your chapters a mention and a paragraph and a discussion of your significant original contribution to knowledge and how that chapter enables it?
Yeah.
Great. Great. Have you got the introduction and the conclusion that are about 5,000 to 6,000 to 7,000 words that bookend the project clearly and explain to examiners why they're meant to care about this?
Well, I have notes, but I didn't write it yet.
Right. So for example, what I'd ask you to do is every day pick 5 small tasks. What we need to do is move you to task orientation. Get rid of the time, the 12 hours. This is all nonsense. We need you now to finish tasks. So the night before, every day, write 5 small tasks that need to be completed the following day. And then get up, complete one. Get up and have a stretch, have a cup of coffee, do the second, do the third, do the fourth, to the fifth. If you've got that structure and everything in place, if you do 5 of those tasks a day, you will be finished in 2 months.
Really?
Yes. Yes, you will be.
That will be wonderful. That will be wonderful if I can make it.
Oh, can I go to Donna? Because obviously, Donna, you're the professional in this. If I've mucked up in that advice, do you want to, I know you're not being hired in the middle of the night on your holiday to be having a conversation, but do you want to offer a sort of professional intervention in that, my love?
You absolutely nailed it, I think. I was actually listening to one of your vlogs, and I would recommend those it was from way back, but it was around motivation. And you were talking about, significant events and how people then start to link in emotion and, then mood and how that drives decision-making and the belief system around progress. And what you were very astutely pointing out, Tara, was that you need to separate that out in terms of parking the emotional side of things. Because actually, when you started to go through that practical task list, Claire, and I was just noting it, it's on point, and gosh, I'm thinking, yes, she's got that, you've got that, that's fantastic. But people go down that rabbit hole, that emotional rabbit hole, and when when you're in a darker place because of that, it's very hard to evaluate objectively because the emotion creeps in, the self-doubt, all those worries and fears. So you made the point in the vlog about just separating that out and, you know, making sure that you're task orientated, that it's not about the time. And I'm thinking, like, you know, nobody could commit 12 hours. I mean, it's about realistic expectations. And then you end up getting into a cycle of, you know, just beating up on yourself about it, you know, and it becomes incredibly emotionally led, which, you know, and particularly if you're prone to self-doubt, you're never going to believe that you're hitting the targets anyway. So you're right, that needs to come out of the equation.
Yeah,
that's my
beautifully said, Donna. So Infocom, my love, what you've got to do is stop thinking big picture at this point, because big picture is getting you frightened, and use the word fear. So let's not think big picture. Let's think every day completing 5 tasks. And if you wanted, in the privacy of your own home, and it's rare for me to be doing this, but in the privacy of your own home, if you want to be addressing this, then one of my audio books, which I think was Comma, went through all the emotional states. So it went through fear and self-doubt and jealousy and all these issues. And look, I think that did help people, particularly at your stage of the journey, where they're just listening to it, no judgment. And that is working through the emotional matters. Often people were doing that late in the afternoon or late at night, just doing one chapter a night, but working during the day. So is that helpful, Infocom?
Thank you so much. And I will buy your book by Amazon.
Oh, it's very, very cheap. Professor Quinton and I made a decision to make it very cheap, like us. So, and it's also freely available.
I don't matter for the price. The essential thing for me is the information. Yeah. And I love knowledge and I love reading. So
yes,
it will be wonderful if it can help me.
It's cheap and cheerful, but it has allowed a lot of people to finish, because that's provided almost, as Donna's done there, a guide through the emotional work, but then allowing the actual thesis to be finished. Yeah.
Yeah. I have just one thing to say. I'm sorry I took a lot of time.
No, we're thrilled.
For the 12 hours a day, I done it for 2 years, and it works wonderfully. But this year, it's like I'm tired about research, about reading, about writing, all of this stuff, and like I'm tired, and that's why I can't make it. So it stressed me.
Oh, sweetheart, we absolutely understand it. And of course you're tired. And the other trick that no one ever tells you, my love, is that when we talk about doing a PhD, within every PhD, it's about 8 different PhDs. And so what might have worked in year 1 or what might have worked last month is not working today. And what you've got to do is freshen up. And sometimes time orientation can work, but they will reach a point where task orientation is the way forward. And often when I've had very, very tired colleagues in that final stretch, time orientation doesn't work anymore. And it's task orientation that'll get them home. Queen Maeve.
Thank you so much. Just helloinfo.com. Really important. Yes, have a quick draft of your coffee while I have a quick go here, Tara. It's just beyond important. It doesn't matter what stage of life you are in. Self-care is everything. It is something that you're obliged to learn as you become more mature. But in the earlier stages, anything like this that's a marathon, a PhD is a marathon. So your strategies that work for a short burst or a run down the hill or a quick walk, those strategies don't provide a long-term perspective. So thank you, Lorraine. Thank you, all the nodding people. And you learn it the hard way, or you learn it however you do it, you know, but you will learn it. And I put in the box, in the chat box, which I know people watching this later can't see that, but most universities will provide you with free counselling, and and you've indicated that money isn't that big an issue because you're prepared to buy books, so get counselling. You know, it's absolutely essential, because your mental health and your physical health are the only things that are going to get you through the PhD. They are the
100%.
foundation of the Maryland. Go for it.
Yeah. I'm with you in this point, 100%.
Yes.
Okay.
You're very right.
And Tiffany Lyndall Knight, who finished her thesis in about 2.5 years, I believe she ended up doing about 3 hours of yoga for the final 2 months a day, right? So she wrote, and then she did a downward facing dog, and then she did another downward facing dog. She had a happy baby. And so she really yogaed her way through the final 3 months, right? And obviously she looked taut and magnificent at the end, but she also completed a thesis. So it's great. Kylie, straight in, mate. This will be interesting. Go, mate. Oh, yeah.
I just, Maeve got in before I did, but I also wanted to say info.com, we do. I'm so like you at the moment. I'm so tired. I was only just sort of thinking as Maeve was talking 4 years ago, I think when I started listening to Tara's, the blogs and all that sort of stuff before, when we first really met, and I used to think, I'm never going to be like that. I'm so into my thesis. Well, guess what? I'm at that point where I'm so over it.
Yeah.
So it's normal. But as Maeve said, self-care, make sure you take time for yourself, try not to drink too much. But yeah, it is perfectly normal. And I think, yeah, there was a lot of nodding. I think we're all, those that are finished, remember what it's like.
Yeah.
Those of us that are there know exactly what it's like. It's normal.
And Coles, that's why I'm so hard, and I am a hard old cow, I know that, but I'm so hard to try and get people through as quickly as I can, because it's about momentum, Kyles, and also it's the pain of this thing, right? I mean, if you're in pain, you remember when you're a kid and your mum says, I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. Boom! And you go, that's certainly what I did with my mother. And that's sort of like the PhD, really. So if you can get it done as quickly as you can, it's not the best work you'll ever write. It's the worst work you'll ever write. It's like the Band-Aid. Whereas if you sit there and go, and it keeps going. And then like you're a year later going, oh, it still hurts. So it is important to be disciplined. And it's not about 12 hours a day, but it's about, if you're going to give me 3 hours, give me 3 good hours. Come on.
And to have that reminder as well, as you said, try and do it quickly, but especially when you're doing it part-time, and if you're working, you can only do so much.
Spot on, Kyles. And as you've heard me say thousands of times, a part-time PhD, and I was in full-time work when I did mine too, a part-time PhD is a completely different way of doing a PhD to a full-time PhD. And we need to talk about that. Suddenly now, we've now got a good chunky third of all PhD students are part-timers. And that's, yeah, I mean, it's a minority, but it's a large minority now. And we can't ignore them anymore. We can't ignore you or me or how we went through anymore. Lorraine's straight in. Come on, Lorraine.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Just sort of, leading on from what info.com has actually said there. And I'm not, for anybody else, I'm not saying do what I've done, but I actually resigned from my position on Monday, which is, and it's, thank you. I'm a bit scared, I'll be honest. So I'm, I've been working since left school at 15, always worked. So giving up, my primary role was a big decision, but my PhD is so important to me. And I was sort of looking into the future of how exhausted I know that I will become if I keep on doing what I've been doing. So something had to go, something had to give. I've still got other jobs. So I was just doing too much, way too much to really to be expected to be humanly possible and produce a good PhD. So so I made that. So I've got a little bit of grief at the moment for letting that go, because I did like my role. But just I think just sometimes you really have to stop and reevaluate and go, what is really, really important to me? How do I want to prioritize that? If I'm financially able to do that, then, and I think just through life experience, I've realized I actually don't need a lot of money to survive. And the PhD is not about monetary, but for me, it's about a life contribution, actually. And I hope that there's many audiences that will read it when I've finished. Anyway, I just wanted to
we're going to get into that. So firstly, can we all just go to
Thank you. I'll make me cry.
No, well, I'll start crying shortly too. We've got a lot of things to say to you, Lorraine, and we'll all have a conversation about this. But firstly, I don't know if anybody else is as impacted by Donna as I am, but Donna said, I think it was last week in response to Eunice, fortune favours the brave. And I went, oh, look, I know that's a bit of a cliche and I'm not being erudite enough, but I've had your voice, Donna, going fortune favours the brave all week, and it's guided all my decisions. Like just about every minute I've gone, fortune favours the brave, Donna's right, come on. And it's about, you know, yes, it claims the Brené Brown work on vulnerability and the man in the arena, and I'm a big believer in that too. But Lorraine, you've done the sociologically accurate thing. So the shorter the PhD, the more likely you are to finish. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
And the more energy and attention you can put in it, the more likely you are to finish. So you've created the frames that will allow you to finish, right?
Yeah.
And you've also done what Professor Quinton and I are quite obsessed about, which is, you know, what are the expenses? My old mother, who's 94, always said, you know, people earn a lot of money. If they spend it, they might as well not earn it, right? So you live up to your income. So
absolutely.
And I'm a cheap date, and so is Jamie Quinton. And so it's very much about controlling the expenses. What do you need to live a life? And your present is your superannuation for your future.
Yeah.
So can I, as we're sort of reaching near at the end of this, let's start to gather this up for you, Lorraine. Where do you want this PhD to take you? What does the future you with a PhD look like? And then we might be able to dovetail strategies around that. What does that future you look like?
Authoring. So that's something I've always wanted to do. So I've always had a bit of a Ben-Hur. There's always something more. There's always more. Whatever I do, there's more, and it's So you know, I've got a handle on that though, so I can scale it back and bring it back to the smaller steps and tasks that need to get to that. But yeah, I can see a number of books coming out in different sort of pathways into my PhD. So the PhD isn't necessarily for a career in academia, but it is in authorship. Yeah.
So what we're sort of talking about here, we might sort of, as we're dovetailing back into our Maeve conversation. So as you're writing the PhD, Lorraine, write it with the publication plan in place.
Yeah.
And your publication plan, and I would argue most of our publications plans should be very different. I think so many are very simple in higher education, which involves sort of co-authoring with one supervisor through a series of chapters, and that's a publishing plan. Good luck with that. Whereas Lorraine, if you're writing, then you go, right, well, that chapter, what could happen, Lorraine, is you go, that chapter is a chapter for the thesis, but that is actually a small book. So take that single chapter, park it, and as you get another idea, get that to 18, 20,000 words, nice, sexy title, in, out, shake it all about. If you're writing something and 1 week you go, that is breathtakingly magnificent. That's about 15, 20 pages, and that is an intervention now, then make that the chapbook pamphlet.
Thank you so much. And just one other thing, I'm off to Bali this afternoon, well, about 6 o'clock this evening, and I'm meeting my brother who's coming from the UK. I haven't seen him for about 7, 8 years. First time I'll be meeting my sister-in-law, so I'm super excited. And I haven't packed yet, so I won't be Right Club afterwards, because I really do need to check what I need to wash.
Oh, Lorraine, what a week you've had. We are so thrilled for you. But Lorraine, have you got any other homework for us? So just as we're moving forward, thinking about dissemination plans, is there anything else that in terms of income streams or in terms of personal branding, author profile, author platform, we'll use that sort of language, what's a further goal for you? What would help?
I'm very interested in the podcasting. I did used to do some podcasting with a friend a few years ago around a totally different topic that was her passion, but I just helped her with that. So something along that line, but I'm not quite sure what that looks like as yet. Well, I think that will come out. And I probably somewhere using my counselling skills, shall we say. I don't know quite how, but there's something there, I think.
Well, I think Lorraine and Doug, of course, that was your big interest for me, because you've got some kit now. You've bought some kit. And so Doug sent me an email about how to use the kit, how to enable particular software. So what if, Doug, you carry Lorraine's request forward with you, and while she's in Bali, we have a conversation next week. Obviously, whatever questions everyone's got, we'll answer. But between Paul, Doug, and I, let's work on Lorraine's project, and then next week have a think about podcasting. What about that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just get a nod, do I, Doug? Thanks, mate.
No, I think. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, but yes, definitely.
That's fantastic. And of course,
that means getting up early, of course.
I'm so sorry about that, Doug.
I know. I do sleep forever, but I just like being in bed at the moment. It's just so great.
Look, I want to be you, Doug. It's like, you know, I want to be wearing the wind cheater, and well, not in this weather clearly, but oh my goodness. Oh, Doug, you're a legend. Now, Kate, darling, you're a star. So we love you, Lorraine. We'll do that homework for you. I'll develop that up, and that works with Maeve as well. Kate, darling, have you got any we're reaching the end of final commentary, because we've got your dissemination to think about as well. Obviously, short books are clearly your goal. Anything as a final comment, Queen Kate?
I've just actually written this. I need to learn more about, is it Substack? Was that the group you talked about? Because I've signed up with them, and I've actually got in contact with people. I don't know how it all happened, but the American Nurses Association, and they're talking about their medico-legal disasters. And I love that, because that's what I do for a living. Eunice and I both write medico-legal reports. We have law degrees. But people have contacted me in just the last few days.
Yes.
And I've got a very brilliant woman who I've followed for some years, who's coming to Sydney next week, and wrote to say she wants to meet me here in Sydney. So, so I need to learn more about Substacking, putting my own stuff up there, and podcasting.
Well, we'll do podcasting next week, but Kate, and we'll come back and do a full Substack, because I'm a watcher of that at the moment. It's not in my vista to do it, but Kate, it's useful for you, and I would also argue it's useful for Eunice. It builds the author platform. So Kate, it's basically think about it like a 1970s newsletter. Do you remember when we all used to type on the manual typewriter and then get the funny thing, and we used to give the newsletter out, right? Well, basically Substack is and we all did that. Substack is a digital version of that. So you write for our other colleagues that do blogging. So for example, Legendary Paul, so you got a blog, and that's great, but you put it on a Substack, so it becomes a blog but within the Substack universe, and then it links to a newsletter series of email addresses. So it starts to build an audience up. So it's, if you like, a blog on steroids that carries that 1970s newsletter with it. But Kate, the key bit is, once you reach a certain subscription level, the dough arrives.
Well, what I've already got that I didn't even think about before, I've had a wound center website for many, many, many years. It's free to absolutely everybody.
Yes.
I've got nearly 4,000 members on there, and I email them weekly or fortnightly. They're from all over the world. So I have my first mailing list, perhaps, to then, when I'm ready, send all of those people
the link to Substack. It's magnificent. And what that'll do is, the material's still free and available, but for subscribers, it's a subscription model. Colleagues, this is called a freemium model. There are free elements that are available to everybody, but there's a premium, and it's not a lot, because it's not a lot of money for an individual, but it's a freemium model whereby colleagues can then gain an income stream from often material you're doing anyway through a blog.
That's what I want to do, make money from it.
So thanks, Kate. So I adore you. So Kate, Substack is the way forward. So if any colleagues have interesting bespoke content like that, and you need to connect it to an audience with a freemium model, Substack is the way forward. Fantastic. So colleagues, I'm conscious of the time. We wish Lorraine a beautiful trip. We wish Professor Quinton a wonderful trip home, and let's hope that the Palmerston North internet allows you to have a live Al Jazeera interview, which is terribly exciting. And I'll see many of our colleagues on Right Club next. You are the best human beings. Look after yourself. Infocom, we're with you. Look after yourself. See you soon. Donna, sleep well. Paul, sleep well. Take care. Bye-bye. Fantastic.